Thank you for joining us on this edition of the 6 p.m. primetime newscast on Equinoxe television, live from our headquarters in Cameroon's economic capital, Douala. I am Bable Jonathan. Tonight, a statement by Cameroon's Minister of Justice and Keeper of the Seals, Laurent Esso, speaks volumes of the high level of corruption and other illegal practices in the country's judiciary. He told senators in the upper house of parliament during the question and answer session that the ministry is examining over 850 disciplinary files in connection to illegal practices by some magistrates, and we're giving to you greater details in this edition of the 6 p.m. newscast on Equinoxe television. And also in this newscast, we talk about deaths on highways across the Republic of Cameroon. The country continues counting deaths on highways as a result of accidents. We'll bring to you greater details, and of course we'll bring to you updates on the situation in Kenya, with leaders of the protests in that country reconsidering their strategy. Once more, thank you for joining us on this edition of the primetime newscast on Equinoxe television. Highways across the Republic of Cameroon continue swallowing lives, so to speak, in the most recent incidents. 5 persons died and many others injured in 2 accidents on National Road number 5. Mother Glory files in greater details.
The first accident occurred around 10 a.m. Tuesday at the junction of Mwaku, few meters from Bafang, Open Camp Division, West Region. The accident involved a 30-seater bus that went into a head-on collision with a private vehicle reported to be on high speed, and this resulted to multiple injured persons. The victims were immediately transported to the Bafang District Hospital, where they are presently responding to treatment. We took a bus from Banja, just somewhere after Bafang. A private vehicle left from nowhere and hit us. That is how we found ourselves in the valley. I just discovered that our bus was falling into the valley. That was how I started calling for help. Away from Bafang, another accident took place at Lamome, not far from the Catholic Junction, still in the Open Camp Division. The accident involved 2 private vehicles that resulted to 5 deaths. A family member to Otang Rachel, one of the victims, says that I was returning from the farm when I was informed on phone that my uncle's wife had an accident and was rushed to the hospital, but unfortunately died on the way. Monte Marceline is another victim who died on the way to the hospital. Her husband and other family members are still in shock. The husband says, my wife is leaving me a widower with 7 children, 5 girls, 2 boys, including her sick mother. It was a sad day for the population of the Open Camp Division West Region, witnessing these 2 accidents on the National Route number 5. This come few days after another accident registered 4 deaths in Sanju, still in the West Region.
Floods have caused the death of a bike rider in Cameroon's political capital, Yaoundé. He was swept away by a run-off in a manner during the downpour that hit the town. Details with Asie Lucilengo.
Terror in the Manabilik neighborhood in Yaoundé. A bike rider drowns in floods after heavy rainfall. The bike rider, just like his colleagues, was struggling to make his way. Since the start of the rainy season, several parts of the political capital city have been flooded with enormous material damage recorded. Like in the Avenue Kennedy neighborhood, the business persons complain of incurring losses. When there is an overflow of water, it gets to our shops, destroying our valuable properties, mostly our electronics. We have no benefit. Also, most of our customers find it difficult to purchase goods from our shops. We spend an entire day selling nothing. It's hard for us. With all these, we got taxes to pay. According to the population, the construction of houses on gutters or drainage systems is the cause of the overflow because the water is being blocked. While in the Esos neighborhood, the roofs of the Nkong Parish Catholic School was destroyed by heavy winds. However, the recent report from the National Observatory on Climate Change revealed torrential rains and its consequences in several parts of Yaoundé.
2 teenagers have died and 2 others are battling for their lives at a local health facility in Bachengu in the west region of Cameroon. Ismail and Aucun died after consuming puff balls prepared by their mother, and the puff balls were prepared out of ripe bananas. The family of the kids say the death of their children is mysterious. Smanjikan Gabriel tells us more.
The cry of a helpless grandmother. We are at a family residence in Bachengu in the West region where 2 children died after consuming puffballs. According to the grandmother, there were 4 from the same family who consumed the puffballs. With a plate of food in his hands, he sat by me and began crying. Then the elder sister asked, "What is wrong with you, Ismail?" He replied that he was having a stomach ache. Ismail, who was 6-year-old, and her elder sister Aucun, 9-year-old, will be later rushed to a nearby hospital where they will later give up the ghost. Struggling to know what could have happened, a family member will show us the bunch of banana from where some bananas were removed and mixed with grounded maize used to make the said puff balls that led to the death of the 2 children. One of the kids asked that how can you be eating without giving my own? Then one gave him the puff ball, but immediately he ate it. He said it wasn't good. The family members who believe that what happened to their kids wasn't normal are now waiting for the results of an investigation that has already been opened. At the time of this report, we were told that the mother is out of danger, but the 2 kids who ate the puff balls are still under the oxygen.
Enormous material damage has been recorded following a fire incident which happened few hours ago around the Lakentini Hospital here in Douala. The cause of the inferno is yet to be clearly established, but the neighbors say the kids of the house that went into flames set some plain cats ablaze, which is suspected to have caused the fire incident. At the time of this report, firefighters were still searching for occupants of the house. Staff Lady Annabella reports.
The mother of the house wails on the floor as she was called from the market that her house is on fire.
Je ne peux pas expliquer. Moi, je sors du marché d'abord. Au marché. En partant au marché, j'ai laissé mes petits-enfants.
The family compound, comprising of 3 buildings situated a few meters away from the Lakentini Hospital in Douala, has been completely ravished by flames.
J'ai laissé les enfants bien à la maison parce que les autres visionnaient.
The mother explains that she left the kids on their own at home watching TV in the morning. How the flames started is still mysterious, but inhabitants say the kids were playing cards somehow lit the cat with a gas lighter.
Le feu était d'une violence inédite.
With the help of neighbors, some occupants were saved.
Là, il y avait les enfants. Tout ce qu'on a pu faire, c'est escalader au niveau des toitures, là, des tôles. Et sortir les enfants.
As we left the scene, firefighters were still searching for the youngest, who is 1 year old.
Là, je ne peux pas dire autrement, mais je ne sais pas si toute la famille est dehors.
The firefighters arrived early enough to stop the flames from spreading to other structures. However, 3 buildings were completely razed by the wild flames.
observers and critics decry what they qualify as an alarming rate of corruption and other illegal practices in the country's judiciary. And these reactions coming after the Minister of Justice and Keeper of the Seals, Laurent Esso, told senators in the upper house of Parliament that the ministry is examining over 850 allegations of corruption and other illegal practices said to have been carried out by some magistrates. Equinoxe tells us more in the following report.
It was in front of senators that the Justice Minister revealed the corruption scandals reigning in the internal and external services of his ministry. Grilled in Parliament, Minister Laurent Esso disclosed that 865 magistrates out of the 1,784 in Cameroon are under disciplinary investigations. This declaration follows preoccupations of senators on concerns raised about alarming corruption in this ministry. These disciplinary investigations aim at identifying unprofessional practices and behaviors. The Keeper of the Seals indicated that sanctions have been previewed and could extend to revocation of alleged corrupt magistrates if found guilty of the accusations against them. As concerns the non-convocation of the Higher Judicial Council for about 4 years now, an SDF parliamentarian, Benute Germany, had earlier recalled the Minister of Justice. This has rendered idle at least 5 batches of promoted magistrates. The parliamentarian also sought to know from the minister why the Higher Judicial Council, that has to hold traditionally once every year, had not been convened for the past 4 years. What came out from the minister was simply, note has been taken.
Now in news out of Cameroon, the situation remains unstable in Kenya following the protests that started from an expression of anger on TikTok over some tax hikes in the country, and activists leading Kenya's anti-government protests re-evaluating the approach after yesterday's demonstrations were overshadowed by violence and looting. The worry these incidents could jeopardize the movement's credibility and its efforts to pressure President William Ruto to resign. The activists claim that the violence was instigated by goons hired by politicians to discredit the legitimate protesters or further their agendas. Some activists have called on social media to cancel the next planned demonstration tomorrow. Interior Minister Kithure Kindiki said yesterday that criminals were taking advantage of the protest to commit arson and terrorize Kenyans. And now to Egypt, where the country's new cabinet has been sworn in. The cabinet members were sworn in today in Cairo as the country is facing an ailing economy and raging conflicts in neighboring nations. The new cabinet, chaired by Prime Minister Mustafa Madouli, who has been in office since 2018, included major changes, particularly in the defense and economy-related portfolios. Some ministers, including those in charge of police, health, and transportation, remain in place. The change comes as the country faces mounting pressure, discontent following years of economic mismanagement, the coronavirus pandemic, and the fallout of the wars in Europe and the Middle East. Coming up now is Talking Point. In this edition of Talking Points, Barrister Ian Lewis Fonchinela joins us from the Southwest Regional Capital, Boya. Thank you, Barrister, for your time. First question, while responding to questions from senators in the country's upper house of parliament, the Minister of Justice and Keeper of the Seals, Laurent Esso, said that more than 850 disciplinary files against magistrates in the Cameroon. What is being examined by the ministry now? What is your reading of this information from the Minister of Justice?
It's very disgraceful to get that kind of declaration from the Minister of Justice, because we know that in any society, the judiciary is like the last resort where everybody goes there to get a solution or remedy. But you will see that in Cameroon, even the judiciary has so many issues. How can a minister declare before senators that there are above? It's not exactly 850 investigative files. There are more than 850 investigative files. It goes further to show that we have a very weak judiciary, and above all, a very corrupt judiciary. It shows how corrupt our magistrates are. Even though, I must state it clearly as a lawyer, at this level it's still allegedly. It's still allegedly, but if we find ourselves in a situation where out of 1,784 magistrates that we have in the country, there are pending investigative files against more than 850 magistrates, sitting magistrates. It shows you how corrupt our judiciary is. It's not a good declaration at all. And now, what is delaying those investigative files to be properly executed to the end? What is delaying those files, those magistrates from being sanctioned? Why are they not being sanctioned? Why are the files still at the level of investigation? Because you know also, justice delayed is justice denied. If there are more than 850 investigative files against magistrates in the country, it shows that there are more than 850 victims likely, because victims must have complained against those magistrates. So why is the judiciary delaying to properly investigate these magistrates, and the ones who are found guilty after proper investigations are punished according to the law? That is the problem. It raises so many eyebrows. But however, we hope that the Minister of Justice, since he is the forerunner of justice in the country, they should speed up the procedures to properly investigate those files and get the magistrates who shall be found guilty brought to book and punished according to the law. That's what I can say as a lawyer, sir.
So, Barrister, what does this revelation by the Minister of Justice speak about the rate of corruption, influence peddling, and other illegal practices in the country's judiciary?
Whatever happens in a country, especially the judiciary, is very sensitive. The judiciary is a very sensitive area. Like we all know that when we die, there is the issue of whether you go to heaven or to hellfire. That is decided by God. But here on earth, the fate of the wrongdoer and the fate of the right person is decided by magistrates. Now, if we come in a country where we see that the magistrates are not pure, the magistrates are not clean, the magistrates have skeletons in their closet, how will they be able to render pure justice? That's where the question mark is. And it sends a very bad image. It sends our country negatively, because investors are watching, foreigners are watching, especially investors. Those who want to come and invest in Cameroon, the first thing they will question is, how is the judiciary? If I come and put my money in that country, will I be able to use the court, to use the law, to use the legal officers, especially magistrates, to be able to get justice? So when we see the minister saying that there are at least 850 pending investigative files against magistrates, this kind of figures, they can greatly scare away investors. Even the common man on the street, as a truck pusher or as somebody doing petty trade, any commoner in the street, when you see that magistrates, there are so many cases against magistrates like that, it sends a very bad message. It means that even the common man cannot really rely on the judiciary. It shows that we cannot rely on the judiciary. And this issue of corruption is very alarming. if we look at the anti-corruption report, the Cameroon anti-corruption report of the past years, you will see that the judiciary is almost, it takes maybe, I think around the first 5, you will find the judiciary. And it shows that there is a lot of corruption at the level of the judiciary. Corruption, embezzlement, misappropriation, false pretenses, illegal arrest, and false imprisonment. Let's not forget that before people go to prison, the state council send them to prison. The court, they send them to prison. So now, what if we have many people who have been illegally arrested, many people who have been falsely imprisoned and detained? They are there in the prisons waiting for justice, and they are being kept there by corrupt magistrates who have not applied the law according to the way it's supposed to be applied. People are there suffering, whereas their files are there at the ministry being blocked. And let's not forget also, the heart of the issue is that the higher judicial council has not sat for a very long time, because it's only the higher judicial council that can take certain serious disciplinary actions against magistrates, not even the minister. And we know the higher judicial council is presided over by the president of the republic. They're in the presidency. So what is the fate now of corrupt magistrates in Cameroon? Indirectly, when the judicial council fails to sit for long, it's like it encourages corrupt magistrates to know that yes, the higher judicial council is not sitting. So it's like we have a leeway to continue and be doing corruption and be performing poorly professionally. It's a very bad message that the judiciary is sending to the national community and the international community at large. But however, we hope, we pray, we want a better judiciary, stronger judiciary, a judiciary where the magistrates shall be called to order. Justice shall not only be done, it shall be seen to done, and it shall be done speedily. Justice delayed.
Barrister, we'll come back to the fact that the higher judicial council has not sat for a long time, for several years. Notably, want to get your reaction on the response of the minister on that question. But first, earlier in an editorial, the minister decried influence peddling and intimidation of judges. But the question here is, who is to be blamed? The person who intimidates, influences judges, or the judges who allow themselves to be influenced or intimidated?
The intention of the executive here is that our judges in Cameroon are independent. However, I must mention the fact also that some judges allow themselves to be influenced by the judiciary. To be influenced by the executive arm of government, which is not good. And that is why it comes now to the issue of the integrity of the judge. If you are a judge, you don't have integrity. Members of the executive can easily influence you. They can throw a promotion at you. They tell you, if you do this, if you take this decision like this, if you don't do this, if you don't apply the law like this, we shall get you promoted. And as a judge, if you follow that kind of proposal, you see that you allow yourself to be influenced by the executive, which is not good. Furthermore, I would say that even the Minister of Justice somehow is part of the executive. He's part of the executive. So he cannot come before the senators and be saying that they allow the members of the bench, the magistrates, they allow themselves to be influenced by members of the executive. No. But however, there is this far cry in Cameroon that the executive arm of government has more influence over the judiciary. It's because we have weak magistrates. And the fact that there are pending investigative cases against more than 850 magistrates, it goes further to support this fact, because only weak magistrates will compromise themselves. Only weak magistrates will be corrupt, which is not supposed to be the case. However, I hereby use this opportunity to make an open call to all the magistrates in the country. They should take the bull by the horns. They should not allow themselves to be influenced by members of the executive arm of government, even the President of the Republic. The President of the Republic should not influence any magistrate because it's not within his power. So, but we also need. So,
Barrister, let's now come to the issue of the minister who said, responding to the question as to when the Higher Judicial Council will meet, he simply said that the worry of the senator has been noted. That is all what he said about that. What do you think about this response to that question as to when the Higher Judicial Council will sit?
Such a response before senators is really disrespectful, because senators represent Cameroonians. It's disrespectful on the part of the minister to respond like that I have noted. It goes further to support the fact that in Cameroon we have weak senators. A minister in the United States of America cannot make that kind of statement. A minister in the United States of America cannot make that kind of statement before senators in the United States of America. If a minister tries that, the Senate take a resolution to have that minister sacked, to have that minister fired. We need strong institutions and strong men with integrity who can do their job aside out of party lines. How can a minister give that kind of response? The Higher Judicial Council, as per the law regulating the Higher Judicial Council, it's supposed to be convened. It's supposed to sit every year. It's a yearly matter. But you realize that at least for more than 5 years now, the Higher Judicial Council has not sat. And that is why we have so many files, so many untreated files.
Thank you, Barrister, for your time and the insights you've shared with us in this edition of Talking Points. That's it for today. Thank you so much for your kind attention. Coming up in less than half an hour, Equinoxe with Sergio and his guest. Do stay with us if you can.